Om Ganadipataye Namaha. Namaste. I want to share something with you that I realized this morning. Sometimes the best ideas are just really simple and obvious. In fact, they're so obvious that you tend to skip over them and get entangled in a complexity that's really unnecessary. I'm talking about the spiritual path, of course, as usual. Which path, which method is right for you? I could only make a comparison with a drugstore. If you go into a drugstore, there's shelves and shelves and shelves of medicines. You may have a particular condition that you want to heal. Well, which one is right for you? You can try one or try another one and try the other and see what the effects are. But that seems to be the hard way to do it. Wouldn't it be easier to just go to a doctor and get a prescription? That way, you take the right medicine from the very beginning and you don't waste your time. So there's a similar situation with the paths of self-realization. There are so many of them, especially now with the internet. You can do a little Google search and come up with hundreds of teachers, teachings, methods, paths, so on. Well, which one is right for you? Well, in this case, you can go to a teacher and ask their opinion. But are they going to give you a clear answer? Or are they going to be biased? Especially if money is involved. Can you really trust them? I know from my point of view, I have to see someone work for a period of time. At least a year, and watch how they develop, what they have trouble with, and what's easy for them. But there's a very, very easy, simple way to do all this. Go to a competent astrologer, a Vedic astrologer, not a Western astrologer. They're pretty much useless, especially for spiritual work. And get a reading. There's something in Vedic astrology called Moksha-kāraka. Moksha-kāraka. Moksha, of course, means liberation, and karaka means like an indicator. If you have Moksha-kāraka, and there's several different ones. So if you have this particular indication in your chart, it means you have earned the right, the privilege, rather, of liberation. Should you choose to exercise it, you can have it in this life. So let me step back a little bit. The best Vedic sages, such as Ramana Maharshi and Mahaperiyava, agree that our free will is very, very limited. We have the illusion of tremendous choice. But actually, when it comes right down to it, our only real choice in life is whether we perform our activities for our own selfish benefit or whether we dedicate them as service, spiritual service to the Lord, Ishvara, the controller, the master, or Shakti, Devi. Those are our options. We are born with a certain karma, and Vedic astrology shows this up very nicely. That what happens in our life is a result of our activities in the previous life. So the things that happen, our destiny, is basically foreordained. What we do in this life then creates further karma that goes into our next life if we're performing those activities for our own gain, for our own benefit, on our own account. But if we sanctify and offer those activities as spiritual service, then they count towards our liberation. So the question is, are we eligible for liberation in this lifetime? Most people aren't. So then why should they spend their time trying to gain liberation? Better they spend their time amassing pious credits for liberation in a future life. Even someone who has attained first path, the first stage enlightenment, which is a very dramatic realization. I mean, really, you see how the self consciousness is everywhere and in everything. And there's so much energy and so much bliss. It's really amazing. So even a person who has attained this state can have up to 7 lifetimes remaining before liberation. So, wouldn't it be good to know? Wouldn't it be a valuable thing to understand whether you have this Moksha-kāraka, whether you have the opportunity for liberation in this life, or is it going to come later? Personally, I want to know. Some people say, no, I don't want to know. But then that leaves you in the dark. Should I perform karmic activities for gradual elevation like karma yoga and bhakti yoga? Or should I go for liberation? Should I leave everything, become a sannyasi, go to India and just meditate on the chance that I can attain liberation? For most people, the answer is no. For most people, they should stick with their activities wherever they are in life and simply offer those activities as karma yoga. And we're going to go through how to do that in subsequent videos in this series. So only a few people have Moksha-kāraka in their charts. So only a few people should pursue difficult paths like jnana yoga. Most people aren't qualified, and they won't get the result. And we see this happening. I see it every day. Here in India, I live in a holy place where thousands of people come from all over the world just to pursue moksha, enlightenment. And it's pretty clear to me that most of them aren't qualified. But really, how do we know? If you had met me back in my jazz musician stage, you probably wouldn't have thought that I have the possibility of liberation. So it's really hard to tell externally. The best way to tell is by Jyotish, by Vedic astrology. So it seems to me one of the things we need to do is offer a service. Now, I used to do Vedic astrology professionally. And the reason I gave it up is precisely because it was painful for me to do so many people's charts when I could see they actually had no chance for liberation. But now I have better knowledge and better skills. And I still wouldn't offer to do people's charts for them. I would have my friend, who's a very good astrologer, actually much better than me. I would have him do the charts. And then, based on the chart, I would advise you what path you should take up. Should you completely dedicate yourself in an all-out attempt to attain enlightenment, or should you take a more gradual path looking toward the future lives and building up your pious karma, your subha karma, so that in the future you are sure to attain? Rather than trying for enlightenment and failing in this life, wouldn't it be better to build up your pious karma so that you have a better chance in your next life? That seems to be good advice. So I'm going to start offering this service, and I'm not even sure what to call it yet. But I would like a few test cases. So if you want to be one of the test cases for this service, please email me your astrological data, your date, time, and place of birth. The time is very important, by the way. Ask your mom. She usually will remember if it's not on your birth certificate. And email me, and we'll give this a trial run and see how easy or how practical it is to simply do an assessment of a person's chart, and we'll try to make the price point very attractive. Because nowadays, astrological services are becoming more and more expensive. Actually, I think they're too expensive to pay like $200 for a reading. And what you really want to know is, should I go pedal to the metal and try for liberation? Or should I take the slow, easy path of karma and bhakti and just build up my bank account for liberation in the future? So if you want to be one of our test cases, send me an email. I'll put it in the description of the video. And then we can try this out. I'm not even sure what to call it yet. But that would be nice too, if you want to send me suggestions how to name this service. Okay? So let's try this and see how it works, and maybe we can make it into a bigger thing. Because once we know what your chances of liberation are in this life, then we know what your spiritual activities should be, and we can advise you accordingly. So do get in touch, and let's try this out. Om Tat Sat. Aung Harihi Aung.